we'll see a pop-up. There we go. All right, welcome everybody to our September meeting of the Oregon Health Policy Board. Welcome back. Hopefully many had a long weekend. So we celebrated those who labor today and before us. Our kickoff with a few notes of housekeeping as usual. The Zoom chat in today's meeting only allows meeting attendees to message the host and co-host and no other meeting participants. So any questions, thoughts, comments can be sent via Zoom chat to the meeting host or co-host or email to the Health Policy Board at healthpolicyboard.info@dhsoha.state.or.us. And Tara, thank you for putting that in the chat so people don't have to spell out that email address. And all materials for today's meeting are available on the Oregon Health Policy Board's website, and they're hyperlinked in the meeting materials column of today's agenda. So thank you all for joining us. I'd like to especially welcome back Brenda Johnson from her sabbatical. It's lovely to see you and have you join us again. Any thoughts or insights that you want to share?
Oh, goodness. Well, it's great to be back, and thank you for the support while I was away. I had a delightful time with my family, so feeling rested and rejuvenated. So thanks.
Wonderful. Welcome back. I'm glad it was good. So before we get started, I'll give a quick overview of today's agenda and what we're going to cover. So our first item is well, it was going to be agency updates. So I guess there's our first update that Director Pat Allen had, unfortunately, a last minute change, cannot join us today. So we will be receiving those updates via email, and those will be also posted for the public record. So we'll kick off with a presentation today with an update on OHA's post-public health emergency eligibility renewals planning and community partner work group efforts. We'll move on to OHA government relations staff and Office of Health Policy staff, and they'll provide a briefing on the upcoming 2023 legislative session and the recently approved Inflation Reduction Act. Second half of our meeting will include time for public comment and a presentation on the recommendations from the Bridge Program Task Force. And we do have a little flexibility in today's meeting. So that means that we could end slightly early or have extra time if we want to spend more time on any of our agenda items. Any questions or comments or additions to the agenda? All right. Tara, did you have a?
Yeah, I was just gonna pop in to take roll call if that's okay.
Oh, did I skip that? I'm sorry.
No worries. So we know that Oscar Arana and John Santa are out on well-deserved vacations today. So I will not call them. We'll start with Kirsten Isaacson.
Present.
Ebony Clark. Right, Jessica Gomez.
Here.
Good morning. We have Brenda Johnson. She already introduced herself.
Good morning.
Bill Kramer.
Here.
And Sandy Sampson.
Present.
Great, thanks. We have 6 members and quorum.
Great. Thank you for keeping us on track there. So our first order of business will be to vote on the draft August OHPB meeting minutes. The draft minutes are listed as attachment number 1 in the meeting packet and are posted on the board's website for public viewing. Is there a motion to approve the draft August meeting minutes?
So moved. I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Sandy. All those in favor of approving the August minutes?
Aye.
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 Thank you so much. Okay, with the meetings approved, Like I said, just for those following along on the agenda, we are not doing the OHA director's update today. That will happen via email. And we're going to move into our post-public health emergency eligibility renewals planning and community partner work group updates. So Dana Hiddle, OHA's interim Medicaid director, and Lavinia Goto, member of the community partner work group, join us today to present updates on these redetermination efforts and share progress from the partner work group. So Ms. Dana Hiddle, let you take it from here.
Thank you, Kirsten. Good morning, everybody. As Kirsten identified me, I'm Dana Hiddle. I'm the interim Medicaid director with Oregon Health Authority, and I'm really happy to be here with you today and give you an update on where we are with redeterminations. I believe that we have a slide deck, so if we could go to the slide deck, that would be great. Thank you. Obviously, we have the title page here. Next slide, please. The agenda for today's presentation, we're going to go over our current status. We're going to go over our mitigation plans, communications and outreach, and progress for related programs outside of OHP. Next slide, please. As I'm sure you all are acutely aware, our goal is to preserve benefits for all of the Oregonians who are accessing Oregon Health Plan services. We want to make sure that everyone who is eligible for benefits offered through our one eligibility system receive their benefits and continue to receive their benefits in a timely manner. And we want to mitigate any interruptions possible. We also want to give individuals who will no longer be eligible for benefits direction and provide outreach and coordination so that they'll have additional resources if and when their benefits do end. And we also want to give assistance to people receiving benefits that's really clear about what they need to do and how we can help them. So communication throughout this entire process is going to be key. Next slide, please. Timing. This is a moving target. This is like nailing Jell-O to a wall, I think. So the Department of Health and Human Services has not notified us within 60 days of the expected expiration of the public health emergency that we're going to be expiring. So we are assuming that the public health emergency will not expire on October 13th and that we will have it continue until January 11th, 2023. So again, pushing it out another 90 days. As I stated a minute ago, the federal government has committed to giving states 60 days prior notice in advance of the public health emergency ending, and we have not gotten that yet. Next slide, please. Known risks. Once the public health emergency expires, we will be required to renew all of those 1.4 million members who are currently on Oregon Health Plan, and we will be doing that by their eligibility category. So what that means is the basis of their eligibility for Oregon Health Plan, whether they're a parent, caretaker, relative, whether they're on supplemental security income, et cetera, rather than their enrollment date. When individuals enter into the Medicaid system or Oregon Health Plan, they're required at this time to be renewed every year on their anniversary date or their re-enrollment date. We are not going to stagger that based on enrollment date. We are going to be sequencing based on various factors, risk factors, and we'll get into that in a couple more slides. This is going to allow us more time to reach out to members who have more difficult cases to process. We may need more information from them. They may be harder to reach because of their address situation, their living situation. And so we want to be able to really reach out to them and provide thoughtful communication and feedback and really help them with any transitions that are necessary. Where it gets a little tricky is that our one system is an integrated eligibility system. So we can have multiple people in what's called a household, and they may have different eligibility categories or the basis for which they're eligible for Oregon Health Plan. And they may also be eligible for SNAP, eligible and receiving SNAP benefits or TANF or another program. So really thinking through all of the potential complications related to eligibility for other programs is something that we're paying a lot of attention to. And it's going to be difficult to clearly communicate when this is going to happen, obviously, because the public health emergency keeps getting pushed back. So there's a fine balance with providing people enough information at the right time and not inundating them with information. So eventually when the public health emergency does end, they'll be ignoring us because they've gotten so much mail from us. Next slide, please. As I said before, the integrated eligibility system determines eligibility for the SNAP program. The resumption of the SNAP interviews have already begun, which takes time. This takes eligibility workers reaching out to individuals and actually having conversations with them, which is not something that has been occurring regularly during the last 2.5 years of the public health emergency. So as those interviews resume, it's taking additional staff time, and call center wait times for folks calling in to get information have increased. And we're going to continue to see that throughout the processing of the eligibility renewals. Next slide, please. This is a graph, a chart that shows where we are currently, August 2022, and where we expect to be with the processing of applications coming in, outstanding applications, renewal tasks, et cetera. As you can see, that the wait times are going to increase. That's partially because of what I was saying with the amount of time it's going to take our eligibility workers to conduct these interviews and gather information from folks that they may not have had contact with for a long period of time. We are taking mitigating steps to help this issue, and we'll talk about that in a couple slides. But this really just shows the impact of the mountain of work we have ahead of us, and how it could potentially impact not only the people that we're serving, but the people who are conducting the business for us. Next slide, please. Mitigation plans. This is the good part. Next slide, please. So I talked a little bit about phasing or sequencing individuals who will be redetermined for Oregon Health Plan. We have decided with our subject matter experts and also with our consumer partner work group, or community partner work group, excuse me, that we're going to front load what we call easier cases. And these are easier cases because these are cases that can be auto renewed or passively renewed through our integrated eligibility system. This means that basically the redetermination process is, this basically means that the redetermination process is automatic. We go through our system checks. We have all of the complete information that we need in order to redetermine individuals' eligibility, and we don't need to reach out to them. So they're going to go first. And then this will allow us a longer period of time to backload what we're calling the higher risk cases. So those are folks who may not have permanent addresses, folks who have identified themselves as English not being their first language or preferred language. So communication issues with how our system currently works. Also individuals that may not, oh, I'm sorry, I already said the permanent address. Yeah. And so also individuals who may be relying on Medicaid or Oregon Health Plan for their housing. So individuals who are residing in long-term care settings or mental health residential settings who are paying room and board to those settings, but if they were to lose Medicaid, they would also lose their housing. So we want to really make sure that we're taking time to be thoughtful about getting all of the information back from them that we absolutely need to stabilize their living situations and also their insurance situations. This group can also include those folks who historically churn off of Oregon Health Plans, so the individuals between 138 and 200% for whom we're working on the basic health program. We're also working, as I said, closely with our community partner work group. They're providing recommendations to us on what is the best way to sequence populations based on their experiences with the community. And so we're taking that into account. And also, as we're making changes to our one eligibility system, we're creating flexibility within the system so that we can change sequencing throughout the course of the redetermination period if that becomes necessary. You know, we don't know what we don't know yet. We think that we have a good idea of how this is going to work out, but we also want to be nimble if something comes up and we need to be able to change quickly. Next slide, please. So this is the phased renewals by population. If you'll notice, we are not putting actual dates on this timeline anymore because the dates keep shifting, and it seems that we're putting one date at the beginning, one date at the end, and we're always moving it out 90 days. So we have gone to month 1 through month 14. And you can sort of see here how we're front loading the first easy cases in the first part of the 10 months. We have 10 months to begin redetermination for all of those 1.4 million Oregonians on Oregon Health Plan, but we have to have everybody completed and renewed within 14 months from the ending of the public health emergency. So this just sort of shows you how we're going to be front loading, back loading, and then spreading populations throughout the redetermination period based on, you know, factors, people who we may need to reach out to for information, but we also know that they're at their permanent address. So those folks, like I said, will be sprinkled throughout the process. There are some practical considerations as well. We're coming into fall. We know historically that our workforce sort of shrinks during the fall months, October, November, December. And we also have marketplace enrollment coming up in October, which that happens every year. And that's a big body of work, takes a lot of resources. So planning for that and sort of spreading out the work so that we have enough resources to manage all of it. Next slide, please. So these are some of the system changes and process changes that we're implementing to make this all happen. We're partnering with our CCOs. All of our CCOs are involved. I also want to state that we're partnering very closely with KeyPro, who is our care coordination entity for our fee-for-service population. And Oregon has requested from CMS approval and has received approval to receive address updates directly from our managed care entities, our CCOs, and we're also requesting the same permission to do that with KeyPro as well. Also Care Oregon, who provides fee-for-service care coordination for our tribal members. They'll also be able to do that as a CCO, but we are trying to include all of our populations that we serve so that we can get updated information from the entities and the folks that actually talk to our members on a regular basis. We are also working with our Office of Information System teams to create a CCO address change submission form. So what this means is that when the CCO or KeyPro or Care Oregon receives updated address information, they'll put it on a form, send it to the state. And because of system limitations, we will be the ones at the state level to be entering that information into our eligibility system so that it will update. But we are doing everything we can to use the most up-to-date information that we can get from our partners. We're also going to be sending out a direct mailing to people who are currently receiving benefits. Starting this month, we're going to be sending out about 25,000 letters a day to OHP members. This is so that we can get a sense of how many individuals are out there without valid addresses. We will be receiving these returned letters back. We'll be scanning them in, we'll be cross-checking them against enrollment information and then reaching out to our CCOs, to KeyPro, Care Oregon, and our community partners so that they can begin reaching out to our members to get updated address information. The good part about the non-returned mail is that it will remind folks to continue to keep us informed of any address changes or changes in household composition that may affect eligibility during this process. Next slide, please. We, OHA, and our partners in Oregon Department of Human Services have contracted with Performance Health Technology, who we call PH Tech. They're going to be providing supplemental customer service support to our eligibility staff, our call center staff, over the next 2 years. This will allow our eligibility workers to focus on the work that they need to do to keep people eligible, and it will shift some of those questions off to our PH Tech call center that they can handle, that doesn't require the expertise of the eligibility specialists or the direct input of information into our systems. So again, we'll be processing contact information that's been updated beginning in late September. And then PH Tech will create a data file of all the returned mail that will allow CCOs, Keep Pro, et cetera, community partners to focus on all of the additional outreach that we need to do with those individuals to get that information, to keep them eligible. We don't want to lose any individuals because we can't find them because of their address, and they may still be eligible. Next slide, please. So here are some of the customer service improvements that have already been made in the One system. We've shortened the recording for the rights and responsibilities. I can tell you personally, I've sat on the phone listening to those rights and responsibilities, and it took 30 to 45 minutes. So we have shortened that information down to just the salient points that people need to know. That shortens the length of wait times, and it also shortens the amount of time people have to sit on the phone trying to get their benefits turned on. We've implemented an application checklist that will be available for individuals. It's available currently in English and Spanish at benefits.oregon.gov to provide them with the information that they'll need to give us in order to apply for their benefits so that they can be prepared. We also are providing information that will assist individuals in getting eligibility notices through the One Applicant portal in English and Spanish. And we also are providing the ability for people to opt into a customer service survey at the conclusion of the calls. That's going to go live this month as well. Email processing, these are future state. We are working on a new platform that will enable us to process email applications and also to field questions from people who receive benefits, and that's going to start in fall of 2022. The callback option, so people who don't want to wait on hold to talk to somebody can save their place in line and receive a call back. That also is going to go live in fall of 2020. And we're going to have a dedicated 1-800 number for individuals in 16 different languages. So when they call in, they can immediately choose the language that they need and obtain an interpreter, and that's going to go live this month as well. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So phase one of our communication tactic, as I said before, we want to make sure that we're adequately communicating with people, but not over communicating so that they start ignoring us. So what we're doing right now is we are reaching out to individuals, like I said, with the mailings that are going out to get individuals to update their contact information through the One portal, through call centers, through their local office staff. We're going to be launching a toolkit and webinars beginning this month so that we can equip our partners with how to support people who are receiving benefits. Our community partner work group has reviewed the toolkit and provided feedback, so we work closely with them. Again, direct mailings to recipients to establish current address information. And we're also working with a contractor to develop an initial community outreach campaign that will encourage people to keep their contact information up to date. Next slide, please. Preparing for the COVID-19 public health emergency to end. This is part of the partner webinar series. This is the flyer that's going out. We are encouraging all of our CCOs, providers, insurers, community partners, anybody who has a stake in this game to please sign up. It has the dates and the times that are available. and a really nifty QR code where people can just scan it with their cell phones and get registered. So that's fantastic. Next slide, please. Our community partner work group. I know Lavinia is going to be giving an update after this presentation, so I don't want to say too much about this, but we have been working with them to begin reviewing the populations to plan the sequence of renewals, have provided excellent information and identified specific populations to discuss further, so that we can determine appropriate communication and engagement strategies. Our community partner work group has also reviewed our communications partner toolkit. They've been providing recommendations for us, and we're poised to distribute and promote that toolkit. And all meeting materials are available online at the link below, so I encourage everyone to go take a look at that. Next slide, please. And I would actually change this title to CCO and other partner engagement. As I said before, we're working with all of our partners who provide services and supports and care coordination to all of our members. But specifically, we're working with our CCOs through our monthly meetings that we have with them, our CCO operations collaboratives, all plan system technical work group, CCO member engagement and outreach committee, also CCO CEO meetings, etc. So our stance of not over communicating with members is not the stance that we're taking with our partners. We're believing in over communication with our partners so that we're all prepared. Next slide, please. Next slide. Policy changes outside of redeterminations. We have availed ourselves to a number of flexibilities provided by the federal government through this public health emergency, and we're working with our partners in ODHS to determine which of these flexibilities are things that we want to continue. Things such as telehealth, things such as enhanced rates to providers, ambulance rates, things like that. So we're really looking into that work and seeing if there are still flexibilities outside of the public health emergency to continue some of these things that have really ended up working quite well for us through this COVID pandemic, and have been good things for our members. So we're going to begin planning for these additional changes, talking to partners, and continuing to research what flexibilities we have available to us. Currently, we're developing the inventory of all of the changes that we have made throughout this public health emergency, determining who has been impacted, whether it's providers, members, insurers, et cetera. And then determining which of the authorities, as I said, will be kept or will be requested to continue beyond the ending of the public health emergency, whenever that ends. And just to reiterate, all of the flexibilities that we have in place will continue until the ending of the public health emergency. So nothing has changed at this point. We are still operating under all of the same authorities that we have for the last 2.5 years. And we plan to work with providers to support this process, continue to discuss with our partners, have regular meetings, and communicate as we get closer to the ending of the public health emergency. Next slide, please. Basic health program. So this is moving right along. This is the program that's going to provide coverage for the individuals who typically churn off of Medicaid and then come back on, in a short period of time, who fall in between 138 and 200% of the federal poverty level. The intent of this obviously is to prevent coverage loss and maintain continuity for our members who would otherwise lose their medical coverage at the ending of the public health emergency. What has happened so far is that we have submitted the interim report for the task force on House Bill 4035 on the development of the basic health program, and also the strategies that are being considered to ensure that the market remains stable and we limit disruption to coverage for folks. We're currently in the process of doing public comment and getting ready to submit an amendment to our 1115 waiver for substance use, I'm not going to get into all of that detail, but the federal government advised us to submit an amendment on our SUD 1115 waiver to add the eligibility group of 138 to 200%. And keep them covered until full program launch. That was because of the all of the work that's currently going with our large 1115 renewal. It was just cleaner to keep it put it into our smaller 1115 and leave the larger one to the negotiations at hand. We're proposing an amendment to the 1332 waiver that will allow us to recoup federal savings for the basic health program, and then enable a state subsidy program for people who want to remain on the marketplace or who do remain on the marketplace. And we're also working with CCOs and marketplace carriers to develop and perfect the BHP proposal and any strategies that will be necessary to ensure market stability. Next slide, please. Healthier Oregon. This launched on July 1st, 2022 for individuals between the age of 19 and 25 and 55 and older. Regardless of their immigration status. That was a successful launch, very exciting. We now currently, as of August 26th, have 12,808 people, adults who are Healthier Oregon members, and we have 7,369 kids with OHP plus coverage, regardless of their immigration status. More than 90% of those are enrolled in our CCOs across the state. And we have completed the health system and utilization training for our community health workers at community partner grantee organizations. And we're completing outreach calls in preferred languages to all members who are transitioning to Healthier Oregon so that they understand what benefits they have available to them now and how to use them. Next slide, please. Questions?
Great. I'd like to welcome any board members with questions for Ms. Hiddle. And I will remind us that we will have a section later in our agenda specifically about the bridge program. And so we can get into some details about the basic health plan then too. But any questions? Sandy, go ahead.
Oh, I was just curious about the call waiting time. Sometimes to hear back on your eligibility or determination, I've seen hours waiting on making sure that occurs. What did you say your current waiting time is for the 1-800 number to call? And you were stating that you were able to do it email through the portal, the one portal system for eligibility determination. Does that occur immediately?
No, thank you for that question. We're actually working on that flexibility right now. That's supposed to go live this fall, but it's not live yet. I don't have the exact time right now for the wait times, but I'm happy to get that to you and provide it to you. It fluctuates, but I will get that to you before the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, I just wanted to highlight that I'm really glad that moving to the callback is still in the works and going to happen this fall. I just think as we think about precious cell phone minutes on limited plans, that is so essential. And so anxious to see that on the list of enacted improvements. And I'd like to second Sandy's request for actually kind of, as we go through this process, documenting wait time in a public way, so that we can see how that's changing and talk about strategies to address it. I was curious, glad to see that the application checklist is already available in English and Spanish. I was wondering if other languages will be in the works for that, and if the toolkit is translated as well.
We are working on translation into the other languages as we speak on all of our materials. Yes.
Excellent, great. Well, thank you so much, Dana Hiddle. Appreciate the update and the work, the many people behind that update.
Thank you.
Lavinia Goto, would love to hear from you next and get into some details about the community partner work group. Glad to see some of the threads already happening between the work and advice and input, but tell us more about it. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Lavinia Goto, participating member of the Community and Partners Work Group, and I'm here to give a little update on what we've been working on. I'm on the group representing the Medicaid Advisory Committee, so the MAC, which is one of the required members for this work group. So the first thing I wanted to just reiterate is our charter. If you could give me the next slide. So under House Bill 4035, the group, the Community and Partner Group Work Group is there to advise OHA and ODHS on outreach, enrollment, and community strategies, and with similar purposes, which as already iterated about, helping people currently receiving Oregon Health Plan to navigate the process and to maximize continuity coverage for those people. We talked about this before, so this is just more of a refresher on that. In terms of the next slide, please. So this is just our